ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So yesterday we saw Lord Prajapati's answer and to the question, a very important question of the Vadakilyas, and we are still in the middle of it. Yeah. So how does he start? He starts by saying that they, that what they are talking about, and of course we got, we had to explain one word. The whole class took one word. And what was that word we were explaining in the answer? Who thought there would be a quiz right in the beginning of class? Yeah, uparisthaha. Upari meaning upwards, the one who is remaining upwards. Uparisthaha, yaha vavakhila uparisthaha. And so upwards means on top of what? Really speaking, this shows us the limitation of the language here. The language itself is so limited. You have to put it in a certain way, but which way we don't know. And each word that you use has to come with a certain, caveat, has to come with explanation, has to come with all kinds of ifs and buts, and because and to confound matters even further, what has happened here, that there are many traditions which actively what's the word for it, subscribe to this philosophy of Bhagavan or God being upari, living somewhere up. So you see that our problem is compounded by the fact that a number of organized religions, what do? They are taking this uparisthaha literally. And so therefore we have to, give a lot of commentary on this word uparisthaha. So I want to look in parts at the bhashya here and see what it says. And here it says that yaha yoha khalu uparisthaha eva, and he explains, Swami Ramatirtha explains. What does he explain? Sarvasya prapanchasya upari nishprapanche swarupe avasthitaha. A very sound explanation, very nice explanation. And what is the explanation here? That this Bhagavan that you are asking, this being, this sentient being who is lending its sentience to everything that moves and lending its presence to everything that moves and doesn't move, and itself is free of all that moves and doesn't move. Nishprapanchaha means, standing apart from what? From the din of samsara, unafflicted by samsara ityarthaha. So unafflicted by samsara. Nishprapancha means, prapancha means that which is made up of 5 elements. Now try to think of one thing in the universe that is not made up of 5 elements. Ice cream. Well, ice cream is also made up of 5 elements. There is water, correct? And there is, all kinds of things are there. There is air, because you have to beat a lot of air for it to become fluffy and, soft. There is air. There's all kinds of things there. And you need fire to boil the milk and everything. And, all these things. So So therefore, there is nothing in the universe that is outside of the 5 elements, because the 5 elements along with space and time become a matrix which as though envelop and embrace all the things in the universe and affect all the things in the universe. And as long as one is subject to this thing called prapancha, the 5 elements and their derivatives thereof, then one is also subject to time and the vagaries of time, space. Yeah. So space means that space itself is an element, and time, is not an element, but it goes along with space. So if one is prapanchita, means one is, crafted, by the 5 elements. Let's say a body or a name or a form that is crafted by the 5 elements, is infused by the 5 elements, is subject to deterioration. Yeah. But how will it deteriorate? The 5 elements themselves start to become the, the deteriorating factors. So first they are helpful in creating a particular thing, and then they act upon that and make it go bad. Yeah. Like even the food kept in the fridge when in the previous janma. That's all. So let's say you have an old thing in the fridge. There is even one song, children's poem like that. Peas pudding hot, peas pudding cold, and then what? And then they say some like it hot, some like it cold, some like it in the pot, 9 days old. Other than bacteria, I don't know who likes it 9 days old, but possible in these Kali Yuga times, So if you keep something for 9-10 days in the fridge, you see that it is, even though it is kept in the fridge, meaning it's kept in the chiller, it is not subject, supposedly you are keeping it away from aushnyam, from the fire element in the form of the sun and the heat acting upon it days. But even that's not enough, because then there are some fridge-friendly or fridge-defying bacteria that can start to grow. Mold can grow, all kinds of things can grow. So what does that mean? That means that the 5 elements which is there here, what is acting upon it is water. The water element is acting upon it and disintegrating the structure of the molecule, the molecular structure of your favorite dish sitting forever in the fridge. Yeah. So it has become a 5-star restaurant or a nursery at the same time, it's a nursery for the bacteria and a 5-star restaurant for the bacteria. That is how it is. So the 5 elements themselves, which the whole world, this jagat and all the things in the jagat, starting with your body, is made up of, start to act upon those very things that, that it made. So, air dries it out, and then the water causes damage. Water includes moisture. Yeah. That humidity, because that's what is the water element. Water causes damage, fire, sun causes damage, and then what else is left? Space causes damage. That's why you have to have vacuum seal, because as soon as there is space, that space becomes a breeding ground for bacteria. So that's why to preserve things further, there is a vacuum seal. And air causes damage, same thing. So you remove the air, you remove the space, and then you seal the blessed packet, and then it remains till, your grandchildren have grandchildren. It will not go. Like this astronaut food, you go to the Smithsonian Museum, and then you will see all this astronaut food from Apollo times, all in packages. And so like this, the 5 elements become a destructive aspect. They are the first things that come out in the form of, come out means they are the first manifestations of Bhagavan, Brahman, Jagat Karanam, and then in turn They are the raw material for everything. And look at the irony, and look at this beautiful order, that they themselves then, what happens to them? They themselves start to fold in on the very things that they are made up of. They self-destruct. So anything that is made up of the 5 element self-destructs. And so therefore, the Bhashyakara, very beautifully says what, says something which is important here, says that the word Uparisthaha should be taken to mean standing outside of, existing outside of the destructive, afflictive activity of the 5 elements, which is what? Nothing but samsara. Because this destruction is what we don't want, correct? Why? Because the mind of every human being is hardwired for moksha. Moksha is nothing but that forever. I want that forever, now and forever. So that forever that I'm looking for is what? Is not in the 5 elements. Because the 5 elements are, they are ubiquitous. Ubiquitous means they are everywhere. And, you cannot escape the 5 elements. And stuck in the 5 elements, if Bhagavan is also there, part of the 5 elements, that means that Bhagavan becomes limited. If Bhagavan is limited, then your nature is also limited. And then we have what in Sanskrit is called Anirmoksha Prasangaha. Anirmoksha Prasangaha, sounds good. Yeah, you should learn this expression. Very nice. Anirmoksha Prasangaha means a place, a condition where there is no moksha possible. Why? Even the jagat karanam is deteriorating, and so this is, I won't put diacritics, so you can just look at it like that, just in the interest of time. So Anirmoksha Prasanga means a circumstance, a situation where moksha is not possible. And why is moksha? What is moksha? Moksha means coming out of this space-time matrix, cognitively, because you can't really step out of it physically. Unless you are in the black hole. Yeah. Unless you are in some kind of a time warp, you can't step out of this space-time matrix. Literally. So therefore you transcend it cognitively, because without doing that, the one is always feeling I am a samsari and I am afflicted by samsara, and therefore what? This cognitive adjustment to seeing that samsara is, I am not that which is afflicted by samsara. So let us list off all the things that are afflicted by samsara, which goes by the word I. Body. So body, product of 5 elements, not afflicted by samsara, insentient as a roadside cart. We have already seen this, yeah. And this the fact that the body is just a dead cart, was told by our Valakilyas. Yeah, we didn't, we have already seen that. And so the body is not I. Why? Because it is subject to the ravages of the 5 elements. The mind, not I, because the mind is also insentient unless it is, shining in the borrowed, and sometimes they say Pratibimbita, reflected light of Bhagavan, consciousness, Brahman, however you want to put it. Mind is insentient. Mind, buddhi. Mind includes buddhi, ahankara, chittam, all the various faculties of the mind, emotive faculty, and then the thinking faculty, the indecisive faculty, the decisive faculty, and the one who says all these belong to me and I am in charge, the ego, ahankara, all this comes under the mind. Mind is sentient or insentient on its own? Insentient. Mind is subject to the 5 elements? Yes. Because the sukshma tattva of the 5 elements, the subtle aspects of the 5 elements, sattva, etc., make up the mind. Yeah. So the gross aspects of the 5 elements make up the body, and the subtle aspects make up the mind. And this whole thing where from the subtle to the gross, the whole 5 elements have been formed, that itself is a huge discussion in the Shastra called, and Sukanya pointed this out, karanam. Karanam means the grossification of the 5 elements, because in the beginning, all the 5 elements appear in the form of what? In the very subtle form. Tanmatraha. Tanmatra means subtle form. So from the subtle to the gross, and so even in the physical body, the mind is subtle, the body is gross, and so again the gross body is made up of gross elements, and the subtle body is made up of subtle elements. Very easy. So the mind is subject to the 5 elements. Correct? Yeah. That's why you have to keep the brain going by taking ginkgo and ginseng and all the things that start with G and hoping, that either start with G or end with G, because if nothing works, then you get a 4G smartphone because you can't remember anything. That's what it is. And so like this, so the subtle elements, everything that I consider I is subject to the vagaries of this time, space, operation, aka prapancha. This is what is called prapancha. And the prapancha is not equal to samsara. For that, a kind of a special thinking is needed. And what is that special thinking? The special thinking is that I am a samsari, I am as good as the body, I am as good as the mind. Then only the prapancha turns into samsara. Why? For this jiva. So the prapancha is benign. It's just, it's growing, it is dying, it is blooming. Just like in the wild, you see some trees, shrubs, flowers, they take root, just fed by the rains. They take root. And then, they grow. A small little sprout comes, just 2 leaves. So cute it looks like that, just 2 leaves. And then what? And then it grows a little, bigger. Then suddenly a deluge of rain comes, dies off even before it has seen the light of day. Some seeds never sprout, and some seeds sprout and then die off. And then what? Some grow, maybe 2-3 feet high, and then, eaten by some animal. Hungry animal saw that, oh, nice little shrub, just my size. One calf came, or one deer came, baby deer, and ate it all up. And then it did not have the immunity to grow more leaves and did not have the prana to survive, so it died. Or in another scenario, it became a huge tree, yielded fruits, shade, and everything, and then died away. So succumb to another storm and the lightning. So like this, all these things keep happening in the natural world, and even our world made up of human and non-human forms is also part of the natural world. But again, if we look at it objectively, just like when you are looking at the forest, you don't feel, you actually can admire it. Even when the hyena, I'm giving the example of hyena because it's not cute. Even a baby lion cub, very cute. You can relate to it, you feel like holding it, not for very long perhaps, but some kind of a petting instinct comes. But when you look at a hyena, jackal, and these kinds of things, very difficult to summon the petting instinct, because they don't look very cute, even when they are babies. There may be some exceptions, but generally speaking, they don't look cute, like crocodiles, etc. So even if you see this hyena running off with a bunny rabbit in its mouth, you have a twinge like, oh no, why is it doing that? But then you see that this is part of the whole natural thing, because the hyena cannot help itself but be carnivorous. And then the lion eats up the hyena, and something else is, another lion is waiting to fight with this lion for territory's sake. All this goes on, goes on, and then you have sudden moments where the lion refuses to harm something that is very vulnerable and, small. Like a baby monkey that accidentally, loosened the monkey grip. It was holding on to its mother. And then what happened? It just loosened its grip. It was looking down, seeing this big lion there, and it fell literally in the lap of this lioness. And of course, there was the National Geographic is everywhere, like Google Earth. And then they had the cameras right there. They had already been watching the lioness and her family. And the cubs were playing nearby. The cubs were slightly bigger. And they were not needing her so much. And so perhaps she was having an empty nest syndrome. The cubs are playing with themselves. They don't need me. And then here is a ready-made baby that literally fell into her lap. And then everybody waited and watched with bated breath, because here you cannot go and reason with the lion. You know what? I think you should not eat it. And that would be really bad. And besides, the cameras are there. It's a very bad photo op. Please don't do that, because all our viewers will be very, very put off. You can't go and reason with the lion. Neither can you go and snatch the baby, and the mother also is looking from the, from the tree, making screeching noises, but is unable to do anything because she's afraid for her life to go and take the baby away. What to do now? Just wait and watch. And that's what everybody did. Everybody waited and watched, and to the shock of everyone, the lioness had no predatory instinct. The baby was just a few days old, and the baby, being a baby monkey, was very curious. So it's petting the lioness and trying to catch hold of the fur, just like it did for the mother. And it even took a handful of its mustache and was tugging at it. And the lioness is sitting quiet, and in fact gives the baby monkey a hug, a very tight hug. And the baby monkey squeals, and then she says, "Oh, you did like this hug? Okay, maybe not." So it just leaves it like that. And then its babies, the lion cubs, come and try to smell this baby monkey and worry it. And the mother, the lioness, turns against her own cubs and shoos them away, hisses them away, because she's protecting this baby monkey. This is also part of nature. Sometimes you get, prapancha shocks you, samsara shocks you. Then finally, I think they threw a big, slab of meat and distracted the whole family along with the mother and the cubs. And then the, distraught mother monkey took away the baby. That is what happened. So these kinds of things also happen. But more likely what happens, the weaker, bodies succumb to the stronger bodies, and everything deteriorates. And we are able to watch this in nature without any problem. But we are not able to watch this happening in our own bodies, because the identification is there that this body is I. And that's when prapancha starts to become, or look like samsara. Why me? Look at my body, it's going, like somebody came and said, "Oh, my wife needs lots of prayers." I said, "What's the matter?" Slightly elderly lady, in her 60s. And then, "What's the matter?" "Well, she's having high blood pressure." I said, "Oh, that's too bad. Yes, we'll pray for her." And the husband says, "I don't know where it came from." I said, "What do you mean you don't know where it came from? If you have blood, you will have blood pressure, high or low. It will be there. And as you age, this is again a what's the word for it? A matter of time. a niyati in nature that the blood pressure increases with age. This is part of life. No, but till yesterday she didn't have high blood pressure. Today she has high. Starting today she has high blood pressure. I said, did you check yesterday? No, only today we had a doctor's, annual checkup. I said, okay, so how do you know it only started today? You just came to find out today. It did start today, It had already started a long time ago. You happen to have a physical with the doctor, a physical checkup, annual checkup, and the doctor, of course, saw that you have high BP and gave some medication. That it can be resolved through medication, at least for some more time. This itself is part of nature. And so really speaking, the more I'm identified with the body, mind, sense complex, the more there is an overdose of samsara. Samsara means sorrow. And always one is missing the infinite because the infinite is oneself. Therefore, identified with the finite, one misses the infinite. And therefore, Bhagavan here in the Bhashya is described very beautifully as, prapanchasya Upari tishtati. Upari means beyond the five elements. The one who is manifest as the five elements, but it transcends that also. Just because how can one be manifest and transcend also? Because that's what it is. Everything that has name and form has the presence of Bhagavan. But Bhagavan is not any particular name or form. This is how to understand it. And so, prapanchasya upari tishtati, and then what? Na tasmin sthitaha, not part of this prapancha, therefore not part of this samsara. Na tasmin sthitaha. And then where sthitaha then? That we will, that we will see later, where if it is not sthitaha, if it is not situated in samsara, in the prapancha, where is Bhagavan? That we will see presently, but he gives another meaning for the word uparisthaha. Let us look at that. Na tasmin sthitaha kintu asangataya prapanchati iti prapanchatite, asangataya prapanchatite iti arthaha. स्वस्वरूपे स्थिते एव सन् स्वचैतन्य आभासेन प्रपञ्चम् अवभासयन्तश्च स्थितः एव भवति न वस्तुतः च अस्ति तस्य स्वात्मनि अध्यस्थस्य मिथ्यात्वादि iti abhiprayah. Very beautiful explanation. Listen. So he says that two explanations. The first one we have already seen, and just to summarize, what was the first one? The first one was that the one who is not subject to the ravages of the five elements, who is manifest as the five elements. The five elements are not separate from whom, but who is not the five elements. Because the one who gives the presence and the, spurti, the know-how for creating the five elements, in fact, is manifest as non-separate from the five elements, but the five elements are Bhagavan. Bhagavan is not the five elements, because Bhagavan animates all names and forms, has not become the five elements in the process. So this is the upadana karanam, is vivarta upadana karanam, technical term. Vivarta means the one who is vividham vartate, without undergoing any change. Swaswarupa aparityagena prapanchayati, so creates without giving up his or her own nature. So the one's nature as Satchidananda and as that which is all knowledge, all sentience is not given up. And then what happens? Still able to, animate all forms, all names without becoming any one of them. So that is the first meaning. Second meaning is what? Na tasmin kintu asangataya prapanchatite. Asangataya prapanchayati. Prapanchātīte means prapanchayati, creates all right, but asangataya, uninvolved in the creation. Creates just like how you create the dream, uninvolved as it were in the creation. In the dream there is a spontaneity. The dreams are based on, memories and desires. Similarly, the creation, as we saw yesterday, is based on the memory of the previous cycle of creation and the desire of the jivas, not Bhagavan's desire, jiva's desire to as though become many, so that one has a place to eke out all the karmas. So asangataya, uninvolved in the creation, not wanting things a certain way, unlike when you build your house. When you build your house, you have all these things because it is dream house. And in the process of building the house, the dream house becomes a nightmare because what? You want everything. Yeah, including literally the kitchen sink. You want everything. You want the doors to be a certain way, and what is there in a door? No, there are these kinds of doors, and especially in the West, and there's that kind of a door, and there is hollow door, and this door, and there's all kinds of things. The only condition the door should fulfill is that it should be ajar. That's all. It should open, it should close. That's all we need the door to do. But no. These people spend sleepless nights choosing, doors, windows, and this and that, and then of course the plot, the land, and how the house should face, and all the Vastu experts are consulted, and then what? And then it should have so many windows, and it should do this, it should do that, it should have the staircase here, and staircase should not face the main door because then all the energy goes off. And then even if you can't help that, you have to keep a mirror and some plant, some good luck plant. And the good luck plant keeps dying every 2 months because this family has brown thumbs, not green thumbs. And then, so you keep, building this house, and you get gray hairs in the process. You get gray hairs because you are completely getting anxiety attacks over what? Over things that don't matter. Things you won't even think of. And these doors you chose with so much care, down the road you won't even look at it. As long as it shuts and opens, enough. Who's going to look at it? Nobody's going to look at it. And the walls have to be certain way, and the ceiling has to reach the sky. It's called vaulted ceiling. It should just be 1 inch underneath the stratosphere. That's how tall it should be. And then it should be like this, it should be like that. And then it has to be, this many bedrooms, and the bedrooms should look a certain way, and they should have not just a bathroom, but they should have a closet that you are able to walk in, cook, and sleep a few people where? In the closet. So like this is how it should be. And then this dream house becomes a nightmare because why? One is not asanga when one is building your dream house. And then there are all these other considerations. Ecological consideration. Every inch of the roof should be, dotted with solar panels. And where does this person live? Greenland, that's all, where hardly sun comes. But, I want a sun roof. What is that? Solar panel roof. Yeah, 9 months of the year, it doesn't work, but nonetheless, I want it. And then there should be all these ventilation systems, and then this system and that system, and then, all kinds of things. And so like this, the dream house, it becomes an instant and an unending nightmare because there is no asangatvam. Yeah, asangatvam means this little space is not there. One is so much involved, one is just, making everyone and around one and including oneself crazy because over things that don't matter, you're spending so much time and so much attention. And of course, in the process, you have some hearty fights with the significant other because the kind of door you want, the significant other does not want. What does the significant other want? They want the opposite of what you want. And so you have no asangatvam here in this example, whereas, Bhagavan asangataya prapanchayati. So while prapanchayati, see, this is again a very interesting situation, because in mainstream theologies we hear God sat in heaven and created the earth. Don't now ask the question, where was God before he made heaven? Then of course one is constrained to answer, it must be hell. Where else? Then why did God create a hell for himself and for all of us? Like this we get into some kind of an illogical reasoning. So therefore the Bhashyakara here, this Bhashyakara, Ramatirtha, says that, Swaswarupe sthite eva san prapanchayati. Residing in its own glory, this consciousness, this awareness has created. Swaswarupe sthite. So being in one's own, what's that? Being in one's own, glory has created, like even your own dream, without any involvement. It has just flowed without, any kind of what should I say, idea that the dream has to look a certain way. It just unfolds. So too, the creation has unfolded. Na vastutaha cha asti. Not really does Bhagavan live in the five elements. Tasya swatmani adhyasthasya mithyatwadi iti abhiprayah. In fact, he goes a step further and says that this whole thing is like a dream. Just like in your dream, what happens? The dream is superimposed, as it were, upon your, awareness. Is it not? Yeah. So this awareness, which was manifest as the waker and has now become the sleeper, and then has now turned into the dreamer, half awake, dreams. And in the dream, what happens? The dream is projected upon the awareness. Yeah, the dream is not really there. Otherwise, if you dreamt that you went kayaking with another friend, then when you wake up, the friend should be sitting there, the bed should be wet, there should be a big kayak on the bed, and the friend should be very angry. Why did you dream about me? I need to go to work now. Get me a shower and drop me off to work, because otherwise I'll be late. Don't dream of me anymore. But that doesn't happen, because the dream, poof, resolves where? Into that very awareness which projected this dream. So this is on the micro level. We give this example to understand that the creation is more of a manifestation of that, that consciousness which is akarta, abhokta, which doesn't create, which is just still, which does not, receive the, results of its own actions or anyone else's actions. Because it is free of doership, it is free of receivership. And then what does it do? It doesn't do anything. The whole creation is projected on this consciousness called Bhagavan. And what is that consciousness? That consciousness is nothing but this presence called I. When that body-mind-sense complex is, so to speak, suspended from the equation, from the definition of the I, if you just go to the basic and say, are you here? Do you exist? Yes. And nobody says I exist because my body exists. No. Body may exist, but I am the observer of this body. I am the observer of this mind. And I know I am. We have seen this. I know I am. And so therefore what? And this I alone is that awareness, consciousness upon which this whole jagat is projected. Swatmani adhyastha. And then what? Therefore, mithya bhutasya jagataha. So mithya bhuta means that which is in the form of, this jagat which can neither be denied nor be affirmed. and which is dependent upon that awareness. As long as that awareness, that consciousness upholds, the jagat is going to be, and as long as that consciousness continues to lend its presence, the jagat is going to be. And then as soon as that awareness withdraws its presence, the jagat collapses. This is what is called avalambana. The jagat is completely dependent upon, what? Brahman. Yeah, jagat is dependent upon Brahman, and you cannot say Brahman is dependent upon jagat. So mithya bhutasya, swatmani adhyasthasya iti abhiprayah. And then he gives a very good quote. Vriksha iva stabdo divitishtatye kaste nedam purnam purushena sarvam. Vriksha iva stabdaha. Like even a tree, a big tree, the trunk of it. Don't look at the branches and the twigs. The big tree is stabdaha, standing in one place. Divitishtati, lives in its own glory, in its own light. Ekaha, that one being. Tena idam purnam purushena sarvam kritam. So by this being, this one Ishvara, and we already had a long discussion about one or many Ishvaras. So by this one Ishvara, the whole Jagat, Purnam, by this Ishvara called what? Purusha, the one who fulfills and completes everything. By this Ishvara, the entire Jagat has been created, has come into being. And who is this Purusha? Purna. And so what are you? Purna. Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, like this. And so come back to the text now, and very beautiful. It's just very, very involved, and that's why I said let's not worry about how much of this we study, because whatever we study, we have to do it properly and fully and completely, and that is plenty. And so, because you will still get everything, the gist of the whole Upanishad, I promise. So if you're having some nervousness that, there are so many prapathakas and we are only to the fourth mantra of the second one, when will we complete? Don't worry. That's my job. Don't worry about it, because if it is Purna, even one word studied is Purna. You get the whole. Yeah. So anyhow, so then back to this thing. Back to the text. Yo uparisthaha ha va khalu, all that I'm skipping. Yo uparisthaha shruyate. Shruyate means in the Shruti one is, known as the one who stands apart. And he gives an example. How does this Bhagavan stand apart? Guneshu iva urdhvaretasaha. Like highly evolved, desireless ascetics. Yeah, like ascetics who are so evolved, like avadhutas and enlightened jnanis who are just there watching everything happen in the universe without being involved in samsara, because they are abiding in their own glory. And then what? And then they are, totally totally uninvolved from the jagat, from all its machinations and everything. And then they are standing there just like that. This Bhagavan is also standing there. And it's a very wonderful expression, because that means in order to understand myself as Bhagavan, the truth of myself, I have to be like those ascetics. Because those ascetics have Atma-jnanam, self-jnanam, self-knowledge, and so therefore they are able to stand apart. And if I also have Atma-jnanam, I am also able to stand apart, just like Bhagavan. Bhagavan is standing apart because Bhagavan also has Atma-jnanam. So therefore, this is a very important way of looking at it. Guneshu iva urdhvaretasaha. And then what? So this portion, what we have done yesterday and half of today, constitutes the definition of Brahman, of Bhagavan, as, of Brahman as what? of Brahman as jagat karanam, jagat karanam, and jagat karanam Brahma. This is one definition, and it's a definition that one has to internalize. And here usually the definition from the standpoint of itself is given first, but here the krama, the order is ulta, the order is displaced here, and intentionally. Why? Because we are dealing with the jagat. You cannot sort of start to appreciate, a being who is, in its own glory, when you don't even know what that glory is, when that glory itself is so hard to describe. You don't know what that is. And so situated in one's own glory means what, and Satchidananda means what? Sat, existence, Chit, knowledge, and Ananda, bliss with a capital B. Supreme knowledge, bliss. What do you understand here? Nothing. And so really speaking, an interesting way here the teaching is proceeding is through looking at the jagat and all its constituents, which one can appreciate without Atmajnanam. One can say, okay, I have a body. Don't you have a body? Yes. And don't you think it's subject to the 5 elements? Yes. And you know what? The 5 elements have come from this consciousness. Oh, okay, I can appreciate that. I mean, I don't know who this being is and what this consciousness is, but okay, it has come from somewhere. It has to come from somewhere. And since I have Shraddha, and since you are telling me that it has come from this consciousness, okay, theek hai, no problem. And then what? The 5 elements have come from this consciousness. Your body is part of the 5 elements. Okay, so your body is also a product of this consciousness, so to speak. Okay. And then we go to the next level and say that this, even though the body and the 5 elements, etc., are products of the consciousness has not undergone any change in creating this body-mind complex. Oh, really? How is that possible? Like even your dream. You may dream of somebody just, hacking hacking your house into pieces or injuring you in the process. Some violent people come, some robbers in the dream. They take away your possession, they destroy your house, and they shoot a bullet that goes right on your leg, let's say. And you're screaming in pain, and then you dream that you go to the hospital and the doctors make some ominous sound. And then what? And making ominous sounds, the doctors say the leg has to be cut off, amputated. And then you wake up. Is the leg really amputated? No. Is there a bullet wound? No. Has your house been robbed? No. It was just a dream. Like so too, this jagat is just, a projection of that consciousness, which the consciousness sustains, which the consciousness resolves, withdraws, and which the consciousness projects. Oh, okay. Then what is this consciousness now? The akanksha, the desire to know what this consciousness is, is created in the mind. And to address that akanksha, we have the now what is called, now we have what is called the Swarupa Lakshana. So this Jagat Karanam, the definition of Brahman, Bhagavan from the standpoint of the universe and its relationship to the universe, that it is Uparistha, it is outside of this universe, so to speak, not influenced by it and not succumbing to the finitude of the universe. That definition is called Tatastha Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshanam or Tatastha Lakshana. And this Tatastha Lakshana means that it is a incidental definition. And then we have another definition, because otherwise we cannot explain the Jagat. So connected to the Jagat, so to speak, the definition of this consciousness, Bhagavan, as the Jagat Karta, Jagat Dharta, Jagat Samharta, the one who projects, sustains and resolves this universe, is called Tatastha Lakshana. Then what is this Bhagavan? What is its nature? Because the Jagat is not there always. So in between, the Pralaya, there must be some being that is constant in between the cycles of creation. So what is the nature of that being? That is called the Swarupa Lakshana. Swarupa Lakshana means a definition of its nature without the Jagat. Swarupa Lakshana, that it is not incidental, it is its inherent nature. Like the inherent nature of fire is what? The inherent nature of fire is hot. So if you define fire as hot, then you have the intrinsic definition. So it's the inherent or intrinsic definition of Brahman. So that is called Swarupa Lakshana, inherent or intrinsic definition. The other one was what? Tatastha or incidental definition. Like a crow sitting on the house of your friend. So the crow comes and goes. And it has pointed out the house. Maybe you didn't know and somebody said, oh, that's your friend's house. Which one? The crow sitting, you see the crow? That one. Next time you go to your friend's house, you don't look where is the crow, because now the house is already understood. Similarly, the Tatastha Lakshana, the Jagat being as though product of Brahman, that a projection of Brahman, it indicates Brahman. It indicates the nature of Bhagavan as Jagat Karta, Jagat Samharta, Jagat Dhata, all these things, and then what? Then we need another definition. Where is this Bhagavan who is creating this Jagat, this kind of a Jagat, who is projecting? What is this nature of Bhagavan? Then that is a permanent definition. The other one is an impermanent definition, because the Jagat is impermanent. So from the standpoint of the Jagat, we have an impermanent definition of Bhagavan, even though Bhagavan is permanent. Yeah. So impermanent definition means a definition that comes and goes, a definition that is not always holding true. Like you say that, like if we take the, Prime Minister of England, Theresa May. And so what about this Theresa May? She's the PM. And then, and then what? And then suddenly there are elections and then she's out of office. So she's no longer Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister has to do with a particular office holder. Being an office holder, and and that office holdership is the one, we are talking that incidental definition, because that office is no longer going to be there. And then after that, what? A relatively permanent definition. She's just a citizen. She is a citizen. And now what is she? Prime Minister. And then the portfolio goes. Why? Because there are some elections, some change of power happens, and then we say she is no longer Prime Minister. She is just a citizen. So the citizen is a permanent definition, relatively speaking, compared to the Prime Minister. So likewise here too, Brahman, Brahman is the prime reason why this Jagat exists. So this consciousness lends its light, lends its presence, and lends its nature to everything that is there. And the casing being finite, the casings drop away, the Nama Rupa drops away, and the Jagat collapses into Brahman, so to speak, because it is dependent upon Brahman, like even your dream. And then what? And then what is this Brahman? Kim Tad Brahma, on its own, what is it? That kind of a desire arises. And so that's why we have the second definition here, which takes up the whole mantra number 4, and let us look at that. So the second definition is what? Swarupa definition, Swarupa Lakshana, meaning without which it cannot be. Can Brahman live without the Jagat? Can Bhagavan be without the Jagat? Yes. Can Bhagavan be without being Sat Chit Ananda? No. So this Sat Chit Ananda, which we have already discussed, maybe not called it that, this presence and the sentience which continues limitlessly, that is what is Sat Chit Ananda, and we'll have lots of opportunity to see this here. So that is what is discussed in the rest of the mantra. So, Sava Esha Shuddhaha Putaha Shunyaha Shantaha Apranaha. So we'll just see this bunch now. So, Sava Eshaha, so this indeed, this being is not only standing apart from the creation, but in itself, what is it? Shuddhaha. Shuddhaha means free of sorrow and fear and all the six shad ripuhu, six inimical emotions, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. What are those inimical emotions? All kinds of desires, and then what? All kinds of, raga, dvesha, and then we have anger. And anger, interestingly, comes when raga and dvesha are thwarted. So we have raga, dvesha, we have anger, and then what? We have avarice, kama, krodha, lobha, then moha, delusion, and then we have kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, pride, and then what's the sixth one? Matsarya, jealousy, intolerance of other people's progress. That is what is jealousy. And this is all these things together make up this, this thing called, this ashuddhi, antahkarana ashuddhi. So there are two kinds of ashaucham or ashuddhi. So there is physical mala, meaning you go out and all the dust and everything collects on the body. That's why you come back and take a shower and clean off with soap. That is what is called shuddhi karanam, the outer cleansing. But then the mind is full of all kinds of horrid feelings, fears, tears, upset, apathy, pain, sorrow. That is also called ashuddhi. Because it pains me to have these emotions. I know I'm free of those emotions, but somehow I'm stuck with these emotions. So that's what we need, an inner soap to cleanse the inner ashuddhi. What is that inner soap? Hari Nama. It's a soap called Om Namah Shivaya or Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The more one chants, the more the inner impurities rub off. Even just a few minutes of this chanting, protects. Yeah. Trayate mahato bhayat. It protects from all kinds of fears, just chanting. And, so this inner soap in the form of Hari. Yeah. So this is what it is that the jiva needs. But what about Bhagavan? Bhagavan is Shuddhaha. So why is Jiva not Shuddha? Because the Jiva has identified with everything finite. That is the primary Ashuddhi. So Bhagavan has not connected to that, to all those emotions, because the Bhagavan is not lamenting about finite things. Because Bhagavan is gloriously abiding in one's own nature, in her own nature. So one is not affected by that. Therefore, Shuddhaha. And then what? Putaha, pure. So Putaha also means pure. Shuddhaha means clean of raga, dveshas and all emotions. Putaha means free of papa and punya. Papa and punya come when there is an ownership of action. Yeah. And this again we have to discuss a little bit, because otherwise the serial offender, the habitual offender will also say, Aham akarta, I didn't do this. Therefore I should be what? Abhokta, I should not receive, I should not go to Gozana. This cannot be the defect. So we have to look a little bit into it. How is saying I am akarta? How is the jnani saying I am akarta? There's a very nice story told. And there was on the banks of Yamuna, on one side, Lord Krishna was sitting. And then on the other side, a sage was sitting. I think it was either Lord Krishna's teacher, Sandipani, or maybe it was Vaishampayana. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Let's just say that a very, Ajnani sage was sitting. And then the gopis, they crossed first the Yamuna was not in spate. It was, there was a shallow portion where they crossed and, went. They were on that side. So they crossed and came on this side and brought a lot of lovely delicacies, that favorite things, dishes for, the sage. They brought bhiksha for the sage, and the sage ate nicely and gave a few belches as a mark of satisfaction. And then what happened? The Yamuna started to rise. Yeah, maybe it was the full moon and the effect of the tides or whatever it was, and the Yamuna started to rise. And there was, perhaps it had rained, and then suddenly there was this deluge, and then the gopis went to the sage, caught hold of his feet. They said, we still have to go to the other side and take all the food to Lord Krishna we have to do. And then, so please let it be. Please do something, make this water part so we can walk through. Now we can't walk. So the sage says, go to the Mother Yamuna and say that if the sage has not even eaten a single morsel, let the waters open up. And the gopis said, come on, O Rishi, we have ourselves fed you with our hands, and we saw how you smacked your lips and, licked all of your fingers, didn't even leave a few grains in your plate. You cleaned your plate completely. You licked it clean, and then now you are saying that you haven't eaten even a single grain of rice. How is that possible? And the sage says, okay, if you don't want to try this, don't. You can remain here. I don't care. And then they said, no, we need to go. And then they half-heartedly said, oh, Mother Yamuna, please part your waters if the sage has not had a single morsel to eat. And lo and behold, the Yamuna parts her waters, the gopis cross, go to the other side, they frolic with Krishna, they give him some food, and then, he catches hold of the angavastram of one gopi, and he pinches the cheek of the other, and lot of, songs are sung, dances are danced, bhajans are done, and then again the same problem, the water has come back, now it is what? Now it is neck deep, they cannot even, more than neck deep, it is, they'll drown if they go, and they again beg Krishna, oh, you can do miracles, and we know that, so can you please part the waters so that we can go home, our husbands are waiting, our children are waiting, we have to feed them. And Lord Krishna says, okay, go to Mother Yamuna, go on her bank and say, if Lord Krishna is a Nitya Brahmachari, Urdhvareta Saha here, forever celibate, has not, flirted even a little bit, has not even looked at a woman in his life. If Lord Krishna is a Nitya Brahmachari, may the river open up, may the river part her waters so that you can walk through. And the gopi says, no. We know how clever you are. We know how wily you are. This will not work. Why? You just now pinched my cheek, and my friend over here, you just tried to pull her angavastram, and this one over here, you tried to hold her hand, and you were, whispering sweet nothing to the fourth one. And so how can we say that you are a Nitya Brahmachari? And Lord Krishna says, suit yourself, ladies. Oh, but night is falling, I will love all your company. Let us just be together all night long, no problem. They said, no. And then they go to the river bank. Again, if they said the same mantra on the other side half-heartedly, here they say quarter-heartedly, they say, okay, if Krishna is a Nitya Brahmachari, may the river open up her waters. And Mother Yamuna opens up the waters and they walk through. And this story is cited to show that that same asangatvam, the free of karma which Bhagavan has, the sage sitting on the opposite direction also has. Shrotriyasya cha kamahatasya. So the one who has self-knowledge is Shrotriya, and who is what? Akamahataha, not hijacked. Kamena nahataha, not hijacked by desires, is free of papa, free of punya, because there is no actor there. But who was the one who was pinching the cheeks of the gopis and holding their hands and pulling their angavastram? As though Leela, it is a Leela. It is a role that is being played here. Who is the one who ate the butter? And Krishna was a pro in this right from the beginning. Baby, it didn't take now to say this. Baby Krishna was so aware of his own intrinsic nature as Bhagavan that that he would say, "Main nahi makhana khayo." I didn't eat the butter, Mom. And Yashoda was just so frustrated. Yashoda would say, "Then look, your mouth is full of butter, your hands are full of butter, your feet, you have left buttery footprints from the door to here, fat feet full of buttery footprints, and then in fact I can't even catch you, your whole body is slippery, full of butter, and you say you haven't eaten the butter. If you didn't eat the butter, who ate the butter?" And the little baby Krishna says, all those bullies in the neighborhood, they are big bullies. Those gwalas, the children of those milkmen and the milkmaids, they are all big bullies. They ate the butter. But since I'm small and cute and innocent and defenseless, they rubbed the butter on my face and hands and feet to frame me. I have been framed. This is what he says, akartritvam. Yeah. And in fact, the butter represents karma phala, because you have to keep doing like this and, eking the butter. Well, nowadays they just buy ready-made butter, but in the olden times, nobody went and bought butter. You had the milk and you would make it into yogurt and you would churn the yogurt to get the butter. And so the butter is karma phala, and Krishna stealing butter from many houses is stealing away the devotees' papa. Yeah, papa and punya, even though one keeps the butter in a high place, meaning one is addicted to this karma phala, and the devotion to Bhagavan takes away the papa punya, because Bhagavan is free of papa punya. So there is no action, so to speak, and no result of action, because why? There is no actor, but the person is acting as though acting. But how can you say that this is how it is? How do I wrap my mind around this, that the Jnani is as though acting, the Lord is as though acting? Because the whole as though here is because there is no desire. That is where we have to keep going back to no desire. Satya sankalpaha, no desire. Because only when there is desire, then only there is action. You see, there is a link between kama and karma. In fact, this is called the vicious chain. Avidya kama karma shrinkhala. Shrinkhala means chain. So, self-knowledge is not there. I think I don't know who I am. Therefore what? I take myself to be what I am not. And then because I don't like who I am, who I have identified with, I don't like that I am finite, then what happens? Therefore, I start doing things to make myself infinite. So you see how all actions, karma, kama pravartakaha, kamena pravrittaha. Sorry, the other way around. Kamaha, karma pravartakaha. So the desire spurs you into action. To get something or to get rid of something. All actions are to keep away the unpleasant and to gain the pleasant. That is how all the actions are. And so these actions are fraught with, with identification that I am the actor and I want this to happen, I don't want this to happen. So one becomes addicted to this notion, I am an actor, because one is addicted to desire. And desire is because one doesn't know oneself. So in the case of Bhagavan, naturally putaha, naturally free of action because there's nothing to achieve. In the case of the sage, the jnani, again nothing to accomplish, nothing to achieve, therefore no desire, therefore whatever the sage does, and the sage does do a lot of things. You saw Pujya Swamiji doing so many things. It becomes a spontaneous action for the sake of loka sangraha, helping people. That is what it is. It is not to gain something for oneself. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om